Hello everyone, welcome to the Lightning Ball channel. If you haven't yet followed my videos, please do so and turn on the notification bell. Your support is the driving force behind my continued efforts. In our previous episode, we talked about how Rimuru's side, in preparation for the battle against the Eastern Empire, was reorganizing their army, assembling a formidable force of nearly 250,000. On the other hand, Yuki ascended to the position of commander of the Empire Composite Division, secretly plotting a coup. In this episode, we will talk about the Empire's visitors. Let's get started. To counter the Empire's assault, Rimuru was in his office, pondering how to establish a surveillance system for the Great Jura Forest to timely detect the Empire's invasion routes. However, while Rimuru and the Lord of Wisdom were engrossed in their research, Beretta suddenly conveyed an urgent thought communication message. Following the official strategy group of Masayuki, another group had successfully breached the 50th floor of the underground labyrinth. While this was good news and had a significant promotional impact on the labyrinth, the appearance and immigration records of these three individuals left no doubt that they were people summoned from another world, and likely from the Eastern Empire. Yet, upon hearing this news, Rimuru seemed almost prescient, smiling delightedly and stating that these people must be spies who had indeed been lured in. Having said this, Rimuru summoned Veldora, Ramiris, and others for a meeting. Veldora, utterly confused, eagerly asked what Rimuru meant by being lured by bait. Rimuru then began to explain the situation to everyone. To ensure the safety of civilians during wartime, the Monster Federation conducted extensive evacuation drills. Just about 2 days ago, Rimuru and Ramiris came up with a perfect plan, using Ramiris's intrinsic skill, mazecraft, to isolate the entire city directly to the bottom floor of the underground labyrinth. This would not only ensure the city's safety but also alleviate the psychological burden on the residents. Of course, this would require a substantial amount of magicule. However, with the Storm Dragon Veldora present, it was no issue at all. Although the Storm Dragon wasn't the strongest among the true dragons, in terms of amount of magicule, he was a top-tier entity in this world. He was like a giant battery for the labyrinth. With Veldora's help, the plan to isolate the city during war was successfully implemented, followed by numerous experiments to lay bait for spies. After all, the disappearance of an entire city, leaving only a massive gate to the underground labyrinth on the surface, couldn't be more bizarre. Therefore, with a little intelligence work from the Eastern Empire, it was certain that someone would come to investigate. Indeed, these three individuals were guests from the Empire, soldiers under Yuki's composite division, named Shinji Tanemura, Mark Lauren, and Shin Ryusei. When the Eastern Empire received news of Rimuru's city evacuation, the great mage Gadra, recommended by Composite Division Commander Yuki, dispatched these three Composite Division members to the Monster Federation to challenge the labyrinth. In the meantime, he went west alone to gather information about Demon Lord Rimuru. However, upon being transported to the Monster Federation, the trio was utterly astounded. Contrary to their expectations of a backwoods city, the prosperity of the Monster Federation rivaled, if not surpassed, that of the Empire. Luxurious shops everywhere, from ordinary stalls and cafes to upscale restaurants, and even hot spring baths. Takoyaki, mixed grills, stir-fried soba, bread, crepes, and various other desserts evoke their earthly nostalgia. Add to that parks, amusement facilities, and other nostalgic entertainment measures, and for the first time, they entertained the idea of settling down for a long-term life in the Monster Federation. Of course, they soon negated this thought. Desertion in the face of battle was a grave crime, and besides, this country would soon erupt in war. Knowing the Empire's military strength, the trio found the idea of this country winning the war superfluous. Hence, they abandoned their lingering feelings and began to faithfully undertake the labyrinth challenge. The next development was the intelligence Rimuru received at the beginning of this episode. The trio, relying on their strength, easily broke through the 50th floor, obtaining a significant amount of gold coins and Monster Federation's unique slotted weapons. It's important to note, slotting is a new way of enhancing equipment invented by Kurobe and Kaijin, based on Rimuru's idea. By punching holes into equipment, element cores can be inserted into these slots, granting the equipment magical properties. The excitement of the trio soared when they broke through the 50th floor, as they obtained unique grade weapons crafted from magic silver. These weapons, scarcely attainable even within the Empire, buoyed their spirits, propelling them towards the 60th floor. At this juncture, Rimuru voiced a query. Knowing the trio were spies, why not simply capture and interrogate them? Rimuru, however, had his own scheme. He intended to test their mettle, to see how far they could advance. While the payout of rewards was somewhat painful, these individuals invigorated the challenge of conquering the labyrinth, effectively serving as indirect promotion. Rimuru's reasoning elicited genuine admiration from Rimuru and Veldora, particularly Veldora, who awkwardly attempted to emulate Diablo's flattery of Rimuru. Subsequently, they joined Rimuru in front of a large screen, akin to a television, armed with snacks and playing cards, to watch the trio's live battle on the 60th floor. The guardians of the 60th floor were the immortal King Adalman and his confidant Albert. Once holy knights of the Holy Empire Rebirius, they transformed to undead after being framed by the 7 luminaries. Rescued by Shuna, they joined the Monster Federation, venerating Rimuru as their god. Sensing the intrusion, Adalman, lips devoid of flesh, smiled. Albert nodded in excitement. Their moment to showcase their power had arrived. They were ready to prove their worth to their Rimuru-sama. Adalman encouraged Albert to unleash his full might to demonstrate their loyalty to their god, Rimuru. Including Adalman's pet, the undead dragon, all 3 brimmed with zeal for the impending battle. Intent on securing victory for Rimuru-sama, Adalman and his companions pondered strategies to counter the incoming foolish invaders. Just then, the doors to the 60th floor swung open, and an intense battle erupted, concluding almost instantly. In Rimuru's estimation, Adalman's team shouldn't have been able to defeat Shinji Tanemura's trio, armed with unique graded Minotaur axe. At least a tough battle was anticipated, yet Adalman's side achieved an overwhelming victory. Adalman hadn't even stirred from his throne. Albert alone had felled the entire opposing team. Mark's Minotaur axe, despite its worth, was rendered useless. Albert intercepted the attack with his cursed sword, also of unique grade, and swiftly decapitated Mark. Shin, stunned, hesitated, granting Albert the opening to deliver a fatal blow. In surprise, Shinji hastily unleashed Holy Cannon, a proud Holy Knight magic and his trump card, especially lethal to Death Knights. Yet Albert remained unmoved, unscathed by the divine magic, and swiftly struck down the astonished Shinji. The battle's rapidity left even the spectators, cards still in hand, dumbfounded. Rimuru, astonished by the scene, wondered how Adalman's team had grown so strong. Addressing his bewilderment, Rimuru revealed with a mischievous grin that it was all part of her plan to astonish Rimuru. After receiving unique graded weapons from Rimuru, they had diligently trained. Utilizing the high concentration of magicules within the labyrinth, Adalman, Albert, and the undead dragon rapidly regained their former power. According to Rimuru, Adalman had evolved from a white to a white king, and Albert had surpassed the Death Knights, evolving into a Death Paladin. Their magicule amounts now rivaled that of archdemons. Alongside Adalman's pet, the undead dragon, the Adalman trio possessed enough power to annihilate a small country. The Lord of Wisdom's assessment revealed that Albert's ability to withstand holy magic stemmed from the extra skill Holy Demonic Reversal, transforming him from an undead to a sacred being. This granted him resistance to both physical and holy magic attacks, leaving ordinary challengers virtually helpless. A triumphant Adalman proclaimed his victory for his great Rimuru-sama. Observing Adalman's loud proclamation, Rimuru pondered, thinking such powerful individuals were too excessive as guardians of the 60th floor. After brief contemplation, Rimuru convened a meeting with Adalman's team. Following commendations for their strenuous efforts, he swapped them with the 70th floor's guardians, the Elemental Colossus. Thus, the matter was temporarily resolved. However, in that moment, Diablo, being quiet the whole day, suddenly spoke up, needing to report a matter. He conveyed that his servant Raisin, through magical communication, had urgent news for Rimuru-sama. It appeared Gadra, Raisin's aged master, had arrived, seeking an audience with Rimuru-sama. Gadra was the great mage of the Eastern Empire. However, on the eve of a looming battle with the Empire, Rimuru felt that Gadra's sudden request for a meeting was overly suspicious. Cheyenne, serving as Rimuru's secretary, immediately opposed this proposal on the spot. Diablo also suggested that Raisin's request could be completely disregarded. However, as Rimuru was about to refuse the meeting, Adalman, restless by his side, revealed that Gadra might be an old friend of his. Considering that Adalman had been a white for 1,000 years, and Gadra was presumably human, his longevity seemed impossible. Adalman explained that Gadra extended his life through a secret technique of reincarnation and was the one who saved him from the clutches of the 7 luminaries. After some deliberation, Rimuru decided to adjust his schedule to prepare for the meeting with Gadra. Let's turn our perspective to Gadra. Earlier, after learning about the Monster Federation's evacuation drills from Yuki, Gadra had set out to the former Falmouth Kingdom to find his disciple Raisin and gather information on Rimuru. Gadra was already aware of the rumors about Demon Lord Rimuru, such as the obliteration of the Falmouth Kingdom for offending the storm dragon Veldora, Rimuru taming Veldora with his power, defeating Clayman to become one of the Octogram Demon Lords, and even establishing diplomatic relations with humans to increase influence over the Western Council and so on. Realizing the danger of provoking Demon Lord Rimuru, Gadra cautiously considered his attack on the Western nations. Contrary to what some might think, Gadra didn't care about the Empire's losses at all. He even knew about Yuki's planned coup but did nothing to stop it. Instead, he joined forces with Yuki, sharing intelligence for their mutual goals. His ultimate aim was the destruction of the Luminous Sect and Doctrine. 1,000 years ago, the 7 luminaries of the Luminous Sect had trapped and killed Gadra's friend Adalman, turning the once noble paladin into a grotesque wight, an unforgivable act that Gadra vowed to avenge by personally annihilating the sinners. In his quest, he found Raisin, a survivor of the war between Monster Federation and Falmouth Kingdom. From Raisin, Gadra learned shocking truths. Rimuru had single-handedly destroyed Falmouth's army of 20,000 and even wiped out the Rosso family, including the formidable Granbell. Stunned, Gadra realized that Rimuru's threat was beyond his expectations. Although this didn't deter his thirst for revenge, the death of the 7 luminaries' elders meant there was no longer a need to assist the Empire in destroying the Western nations. But Gadra's realization shifted when he remembered his friend's tragic faith in the gods and his determination to eradicate the deceitful demon Lord Luminous. His resolve reignited. At that moment, Raisin, sensing his old master's turmoil, decided to intervene. Raisin proudly affirmed his allegiance to Gadra but revealed his loyalty was now to Diablo, one of Rimuru's subordinates. Gadra, intrigued, listened as Raisin described Diablo as an ancient demon far more powerful than any ancient or prehistory species, even claiming Diablo to be a demon peer. Shocked, Gadra knew of only one demon in history that transcended those limits, Gi, the strongest demon lord. This revelation threw Gadra into confusion. If Diablo was a primordial demon, the Empire's plan needed significant revision. As Raisin divulged that Diablo had assembled old acquaintances, including the beautiful primordial White, known for her white hair and ruby eyes, Gadra slumped in his chair, overwhelmed by the revelation. Having learned all this, Gadra no longer intended to assist the Empire. He resolved to visit Demon Lord Rimuru personally, accompanied by Shinji and 2 others, to inform Rimuru about the Empire's movements. Alright, that's all for this video. In the next episode, we will explore in detail Gadra's act of betrayal, along with the Imperial Court meeting of the Eastern Empire. Again, if you enjoyed this video, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Your support fuels my continued efforts. See you in the next one.